I know you're in Europe now. You obviously have lived in the US in a variety of places. Is there something, what particular things have stood out for you? You talked about it in terms of your academic teaching. What things have stood out culturally in places that you've moved around to that any contrast you see or anything you notice about yourself when you're in different contexts?
Well, it's very interesting because from a psychological standpoint, people who are actors, and that's how I started out in life, tend to be high self-monitors.
Hmm.
They're paying a lot of attention to the contextual clues and things that are going on around them. When they're disingenuous or immature, they can be a chameleon, which means that they don't really have any standard set of behaviors. They just try to imitate and to sort of, fit in exactly wherever they go. I
Hmm.
think I'm still pretty much the same guy everywhere, but I absolutely notice modifications in my personality or I won't say in my general outlook, but maybe noticing different ways in which I'm perceived. I think one of the biggest is that in the Middle East, I was very easily taken for an Arab of African descent, right? If I wasn't speaking, people would just assume that I was, from Sudan or from somewhere else or Egyptian. I stopped one day on the way home from school, driving back to my apartment, and there was lights on. It was a stadium. It was a friendly, actually, between, I think, Ukraine and Egypt. This is like 15 years ago. And so I park the car and have anything to do. I go in the stadium and walk around looking for a seat. And then a bunch of Egyptians stand up and start waving to me like, yeah. So I went and sat with them. So if you're taking your cues from the way that people perceive you, and then also here in Europe, in Western Europe, most of the people, so there are a lot of Black Americans at the
Right.
club here, but walking around day to day, people assume you're an African immigrant. They don't assume that you're American, at first glance, and so that's which is experience that you never have in the United States, right? So understanding that I'm perceived differently probably does bring out some different behaviors on my part.